Hey there! We just wanted to take a moment to thank each and every one of you who have listened, shared, engaged, and sent us love. It means the world to know that we've had the chance to spread even just a little bit of knowledge, insight, and encouragement to you along your health journeys.
If you'd like to support the work we're doing, we've created a Patreon page where you can earn some exciting rewards, because being a part of the HIP team isn't just a hobby, it's a lifestyle.
Contributions start as low as $1 a month, with each level offering a number of super fun perks, like monthly bonus episodes, Q&As, a portrait drawn by our own in-house artist, and even personal chats with the Health It's Personal team.
We created this podcast so that everyone can have the chance to access informative, inspirational, and insightful stories, and your support is a huge step in us reaching those who need it most. We wish we could give you all a big hug, but hopefully this will suffice, at least until we're allowed to hug again.
If you love what you hear or are as passionate about health as we are, please visit patreon.com/thehip podcast. That's patreon.com/the HIP podcast. We couldn't do this without you, so thank you again, and thanks in advance for joining our ever-growing HIP family.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Health It's Personal. We are so thrilled to share in our nutrition series this week our conversation with personal trainer and comedian Danielle Arce. She shares her story going through a tough few years and how important it is to have support around you to encourage your healthy eating habits and find comedy in those tough times.
Absolutely.
Not anymore, but she was also a model way back when, and she also would teach Tae Kwon Do. She has a black belt in Tae Kwon Do.
Oh my gosh, she's so cool.
And now she's a personal trainer in addition to being a comedian, which I think is so cool. And so it just shows that she has this wonderful passion for nutrition and fitness. She went through a little bit of a rough patch, and she kind of shares how you can kind of forget about why it's so important to have good nutrition in your life.
Yeah, for your mental health, for your well-being, happiness.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't by choice necessarily. During her rough patch, she struggled financially. And so nutritious food was kind of on the back burner, and making sure that she ate multiple times a day. And with so many hard things going on right now, there are a lot of people suffering, and to amplify it when you don't have money for nutritious food, it can be really challenging, and it can make a hard time even worse.
Yeah, even if you know what you need to do or what your body and mind need to nourish themselves, you can sometimes be in a situation where you can't. And for me, I'm like many other people who might have access to that food, and they might or might not know what they need to do to make that food nutritious, but maybe it's anxiety that prevents you from eating, or maybe it's a financial situation, or maybe you actually don't yet have that knowledge, so you just don't know you need it. So whatever the case might be, it's a challenge for all of us, but it was really inspirational to hear from her perspective and that struggle, because I know, like you said, Karen, there are so many people going through this right now and always.
So Sean sent me this great meme today that said, having a caretaker personality type, but forgetting to keep up with your own mental health. And I could relate with that so much, because that's what we do.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, and Danielle, she fills other people's cups all day by helping them on their fitness journeys and their nutrition journeys. And then at night, she's making everybody laugh and raising people's spirits and getting those endorphins.
Yep.
Yeah. And then she's left with one meal per day.
So it kind of reminds me of having all these tools in your belt when you're so prepared with fitness, when you've been so into personal and physical, well-being, mindfulness, and you have all these tools ready to go, but you're in a situation when you can't use them. And what are you going to do then?
Just out of reach.
Yeah, just out of reach. You know, and that's got to be so challenging to just know what you need to do but not be unable to.
Sometimes when you have anxiety, like she struggled with her whole life, it's so surrounding you so much and encompassing all of your thoughts, and you're not able to see beyond it, and you just kind of sit with it. And I've at least had experience where I've been so anxious. Not only did I have an anxious stomach and didn't feel like eating because I wasn't hungry, I can't see the value of it right in the heat of this anxious moment. And I think that's something she said about how important it is to remind yourself of what your motivation is and the reason that you do it, and looking up the science, reading studies,
Yes.
watching TV shows and documentaries and or things that you enjoy or people that you trust that remind you what good nutrition does for you. And I think also having support from your family and friends does that too.
I think that's really great to just kind of get some more inspiration on how we might be able to support the people we love, to encourage them to keep their nutrition going and their fitness going and their spirits lifted. And, sometimes it also helps us to help others. And I know we talked about this previously, but when I'm helping other people with those things, it reminds me to help myself with them too.
Yeah.
And I know, especially right now, it's even harder because even with anxiety and depression, you might be in that moment where I know what I need to do, but it's a roadblock. You cannot do that thing. And I think people who haven't experienced it before don't understand, oh, you're just being lazy. You're really not.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot do that, even if you know that you need to or you should. And I feel like that's even harder right now with most people still stuck at home, or the resources are very limited, no matter what those are. Whether you feed off energy from others or...
Yeah. There's no one to feed off of.
Yeah.
Good or bad.
Yeah.
I was thinking about how she was saying like she has people around her, or that we've talked a bit about having people around you to kind of hold you accountable, encourage you, lift you up. But because so many people are going through so many hard things right now, that group might be a little smaller, and we might need to step up and help others even when we don't feel like we're able. It's forcing us to sort of, I don't know if we feel lonelier or if we feel like we all are just stepping up a little bit more to help each other out, but it's a challenge.
I feel like we're definitely stepping up more, and we're running on lower reserves of whatever energy that we thrive off of.
Yeah, that little battery is always blinking, right?
Yeah, but we're still making it through.
Yeah, and along the lines of supporting each other, I know that when I was home during quarantine, Mom and I would be such a strong support for each other in our nutrition. So she's had an allergy test done. I know foods that make me feel my best and my worst self. And if one of us was like, I'm not eating dairy right now, the other one would be like, okay, we're not buying dairy. Yeah. And, we didn't drink during that time.
It was hard.
Yeah, this is the time to drink.
Yeah.
I know. We didn't. Yeah. So we had to really cope.
We're running straight into the fire. Yeah.
We haven't done it either, interesting enough. Like, I feel like you go either way right now. Like,
you're either really exercising or not at all. You're either really drinking or not at all. Yeah.
Eating all day long or not at all.
So who are your support people, Sean, for anything when you're going through a challenging time or when you have something exciting to share?
I'm a very private person usually, and I know the value, and it's kind of like what we just talked about, but I probably should reach out to more people just for support. But like we talked about, that meme earlier is exactly my, it's funny, but it's also true. And it's funny because it's true. And I really should work more on that, but I will work with my partner on things like that, and we'll, support each other just like you and McKenna do. And I don't eat beef, for example, and so we don't really buy beef. If we both really get addicted to Ben and Jerry's, for example, maybe we'll kind of start saying, maybe we should stop buying that. Or if it's all the Oreos, for both of us, not just for you.
Yeah, we were eating bowls for a while before McKenna left. Like, I told you, like, with all the different things, but like the bowls were getting bigger. And I was like, okay, I'm done with bowls.
I ate healthy bowls for months to cleanse my body with only nutritious food, but now I need to cleanse myself from the bowls.
Yeah.
like emotionally. I'm emotionally attached, and
It's important.
I need an emotional
cut it
cleanse.
off. Spiritually cleansed.
Spiritually.
Danielle isn't just so funny and so relatable and resourceful and interesting, but she shares a really rounded picture of how all of the things in your life can impact whether or not you are fueling yourself the right way. So your mental health, your financial stability, and I think that the holistic approach is something that we've talked about a lot in many episodes. And I think that it's not only holistically as far as your physical self, but your emotional self and your circumstances. And I just love that she's able to find comedy in it all. And I was so glad to speak with her today.
Yeah, she was amazing.
So please, everyone, grab a cup of tea and enjoy this episode with Danielle.
Health is understanding what you need,
being informed, finding that balance of mental and physical,
building yourself a support system,
figuring things out on my own and not letting it hold me back.
You do kind of have to advocate for yourself.
Because health, it's personal.
So welcome, Danielle. It's so great chatting with you. You are a comedian, and I was just wondering what it's like to be a comedian in this climate right now.
Right now, there's not really too much happening, obviously, because you can't be indoors and doing live entertainment. However, some people are finding different ways to perform or tell jokes. Some people do it like this via Zoom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've done a couple of Zoom shows, and honestly, like for the most part, they were okay. I don't have too many complaints. I'm just somebody that feeds off of energy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, people need laughter and people need joy,
Yeah.
and there's so much to laugh
Yeah.
about and cry about right now. So
One thing that's really freaking cool that I think they're the only comedy club in the world that's ever done this and is currently doing this is a comedy club in Sacramento called Laughs Unlimited are doing a silent comedy where if you know about silent disco where
Yeah.
like, you wear headphones. Okay, well that's what they're doing. Their parking lot's blocked off and all the seats are social distance, so it's outdoors. The comedian stands. They have a stage set up in their front balcony now, and the
Okay.
comedian stands there with the microphone. No one can hear him except for into the microphone, and then the audience are wearing the headphones that have been sanitized and cleaned before and after each wear, and they can hear the comedian, and the comedian can hear the laugh still.
Oh.
that's so cool. I love that.
That's freaking dope. So they're doing that
Yeah.
right now. I'm actually going to be going to another show to watch tonight because my boyfriend he's also a comedian, but he also does photography and video. And we're going to be recording that. So we'll get to go to that. We went to it last week and it was sold out. It was amazing.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And a lot of people are doing outdoor shows, patio shows. Some people are running shows in the park. We're trying to see if we can run our own because we do have the equipment to do so. We want to make sure that like we can do something where we're not going to break any codes, not have children around.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so cool. So where do you get your material from? Is it too soon to laugh about all the things that are going on right now? Or is your material from like personal experiences?
Oh yeah. All of my comedy is based on personal experience. And if I am going to be talking about topical things or things that are currently happening, which I think you kind of have to, I make it personal. So how is it affecting me?
Mm-hmm.
We did one live show in the last 4.5 months where it was outdoors, social distance and stuff, and it was cool. And I did a 10-minute set, and I'd say about 7 of those minutes were basically on what's going on.
Okay.
And then I kind of weaved in some of my old jokes, but like tied them into what's happening now too.
Yeah, I mean, we have to laugh about it a little bit because otherwise we'll just go crazy.
There's some crazy shit right now.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you've had anxiety for a long time, and that's also something that you've talked about in your stand-up, anxiety and depression. Do you find that this helps you cope with your anxiety, kind of laughing about it a bit? Because I know that that's what's been helping me get through the world situation.
Well, it's definitely cathartic.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that when they say when they do stand up, it feels like they're doing therapy. I feel like that slightly. I don't view doing comedy as just my therapy because it's something I just love to do. It's fulfilling for me in a lot of other ways. I joke about saying I think the comedy comes from. I love when comedy comes from a dark place.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Tragedy plus time equals comedy. You know.
That's how I live.
That's hilarious.
You know, it's fun to point out just like things that that are just factual, where it's like, yeah, I have depression and anxiety, but I'm also a health conscious vegan.
Yeah.
While I'm like, life is meaningless, like
Yeah.
I'm ready to die at any moment. Like that doesn't scare me, but is this organic?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it gonna hurt my tummy in the planet? Because I won't eat it.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
And I noticed that on your arm you have a tattoo of a microphone. That's awesome.
I lived in Japan briefly for like about a year and a half, and I did comedy out there. They do have English comedy and stuff. So,
Okay.
and I met one of my very best friends. She was an audience member at the show, and she came up to me afterward and told me she really liked my stuff. And then she was like, I'm wanting to try to get into comedy, but I don't know how. I'm nervous because out here, like, it's hard to speak your mind and stuff like that. Especially for women, it's really misogynistic. And if you think comedy is a male-dominated industry here, it's pretty bad over there. So she didn't feel comfortable going up to the guys and asking, like, how do I get into this? So when she saw me, and I was like the only working female comedian in Tokyo at the time, she was like, can you help me out with this? I was like, yeah, let's get lunch. We became really super close. When I was going to be leaving, she wanted to get me a present. And she was like, I want to get you a tattoo. And I'm like, okay, well, let's do a tattoo that like represents our friendship. I was like, do you want to get a matching tattoo? And she like is too scared to get a tattoo, but she wanted.
No.
She's like, no, I just want you to get it.
My best friend and I too have a sentimental tattoo that only I have. So
Yeah, that's funny.
yeah. Do you feel like being a comedian at all induces your anxiety? Have you had any experience with like stage fright?
I've been a performer my whole life. I'm so used to being, from teaching and doing theater and acting and stuff like that and improv and all that. I'm used to being the one person on stage talking to people or being in front of a crowd. So I'm more comfortable doing that than anything else. But then when you stick me in a crowd, I'm the quietest person.
Yeah.
There's been times where like, was living with my ex, we had moved to this new neighborhood, and then and that little apartment complex, they were very neighborly, which is cool. They were having like a little mini block party one time, and I just for some reason I wasn't feeling it. And my ex was like, we need to meet people, and he was right. We need to meet our neighbors. I know all the pets' names in the neighborhood, but I don't know any of the people's names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
Let's find out who owns Waffles. Let's go.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I had a glass of wine, and then I went outside, and I'm meeting people, but I'm just a very observant, just a very nervous person. We're in this group, and then this woman introduces herself, and she's like, oh, I used to do comedy too. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And very personable, very like talking to everybody. And eventually we got to a point where everybody knew that I was a comedian. We were all talking at one point, and then she stood up and she started telling a story. And it was almost like a scene from Marvelous Miss Maisel, where she's at like a party and everybody wants her to tell a story and they're all laughing and stuff. She was Miss Maisel. That's when somebody there was like, hey, you should do comedy. And she said it like that, because they knew I did it. But then she was like, oh, but you should do comedy to like her in front of me. And I was just like, this is why I don't make friends.
Yeah.
Because people don't think that that's who I am.
Yeah, I can relate to that a ton too. I grew up performing on stages as a musician, and I've done that my whole life. And yeah, like you said, super observant. I love to watch everything else that's going on. I'm not usually the one putting on a show unless I'm actually on stage putting on a show. I'll be at just like a gathering of like 5 people for dinner, and someone will just hand me a guitar, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this right now? I'm not a campfire singer.
Thing.
Like, I'm not gonna just
Or a monkey.
You're a doctor? Can you tell me if this is infected?
Yeah, so
Oh.
inappropriate.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm here to eat and go. Like, what are you doing?
I'm not here to work.
I'm just thankful nobody asked Karen or I to like teach them some rhetoric in the moment. Like,
Right?
Explain there, and there.
Yeah, there, and there.
Affect and effect.
So recently, you kind of mentioned that you had been through a really rough patch And you've also stated that right now you're kind of in the happiest place you've ever been.
Yes, that's
And
true.
that was really exciting to us to hear. So we were kind of wondering what your secret there is, and if you wanted to share a little bit about your experiences with that.
Well, I've had anxiety pretty much my entire life, like since childhood. It wasn't like diagnosed. It wasn't anything I actually was aware of until like my mid-20s. I always worried all the time. And then I started getting panic attacks when I was about, I want to say like 19. And I didn't know what it was at first. At first, I thought I just had trouble breathing. I thought it was like an asthma problem, a lung problem.
It's
I
really
didn't
scary.
know. Yeah. And it continued to happen. And then I'd say depression started to develop around my mid to late 20s to kind of tie into the mix there. So I got married when I was like 27, and it was good. It was like a good relationship. There were a lot of problems that we weren't aware of. It was like we thought everything was fine on the surface, but like deep down there were a lot of problems that we weren't touching on. And then eventually, night and day, where we thought we were fine. We just kept pushing things under the rug. We never fought, nothing like that. We didn't. And then all of a sudden one day I kind of just, it clicked in my head and I was like, okay, there's something wrong. And when I brought it up, it was apparent that like we couldn't connect, we couldn't communicate. And it was like just this big blast in my life. It was literally the end of August of that year. And then September we were separated.
Wow, yeah.
So very quick.
Very quick, very abrupt. I'm a big advocate on therapy. It helps.
Yeah.
Amazing. And so I told him, you go, you figure this out, you hire the person and I will go to everything. We'll do this together. And then he lied to me by saying, I talked to a therapist. She said that I don't need therapy, but you do.
Oh no.
That messed with me.
Yeah.
I wasn't stable enough to stand my ground and be like, why are you lying to me? And like, I wasn't there. I was too fragile. So it felt like a blow.
Mm-hmm.
Within that year, I dropped a lot of weight, and I'm petite and I'm small. And so for me to drop a lot of weight, it's a big deal. I hadn't been that weight since high school, since I was maybe like 16. I'm in my 30s, by the way. I kind of broke out of it, I'd say like February 2019. I kind of got this like epiphany of like, all right, you need to take care of yourself. You get your own shit together, figure this out. So I started to get more therapy. I went to a couple of like energy healers. I'm not somebody that like is super into it. Like I don't do tons of crystal healing or anything like that. Like that's not.
Yeah.
But I do believe in being around people that can help you with good energy and stuff like that.
Absolutely. And you said you feed off of energies too so much. So it's nice that you're able to recognize that in yourself.
Yeah. I was recommended to do a lot of different exercises. So a lot of meditation therapy. I did some Reiki. Yeah. So I just was working on myself for myself, but I still wasn't eating because I was putting bills before food.
And you're not alone in that.
So, you know, because like when I was married, when I was with that person, he made a lot of money and he encouraged me to just work part-time and to focus on comedy. I wasn't set up for success. And I didn't think that we were going to separate because we never had any talk about it.
Yeah.
So you're a personal trainer and you have a black belt. And so fitness and health and all of those things are kind of really important to you.
Yeah.
And they have been for a significant part of your life. Is that
Yeah,
right?
my entire life.
Here you are in a crisis and the things that you needed for your anxiety and your depression, food and exercise weren't there for you because you weren't even able to focus on those things. And so it feels like that might spiral a bit.
Definitely. Well, like I said, like I was like, okay, well, I need to pay my car bill because I need to drive to go to work, to do comedy, to do everything I need to do. And my boss, he at least provided me lunch every day. So, you know, I was able to feed myself at least one meal on my own, and then he would feed me. You know, I got a gym membership. So once I started exercising, that kind of made a difference. So I started to feel a lot better, you know, but obviously, and I was still personal training people on the side because I've been doing that forever. But I still wasn't really gaining weight because my anxiety and my stress was so high, and I was still not eating enough.
You're just barely kind of maintaining and like getting through.
Yeah. But I was getting better. Like throughout the year, like I said, it was like a slow thing where I just kept getting better and better. And then I would say a couple months after getting that gym membership, I gained about 9 more pounds. And so that was like a big deal.
Okay.
The lightest I've ever been. And since then I've gained 20 pounds.
Wow.
That's great.
It just took a while, to just figure out who I am. And then upon doing that, apparently my love of my life, like, came into my life out of nowhere. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't expecting it.
When you're least looking for it.
Yeah.
That's really great, especially after everything you've been through prior to that. You're like, no, but there it is. So do you think that your incredibly strong foundation with fitness and with nutrition, you knew this whole time, even though you weren't able to?
Oh, yeah.
Do you think that helped you kind of push yourself when you were finally able to? You're like, okay, this is exactly what I need.
Yes, absolutely. Because I'm with someone, like I said, like we've talked about this whole time, I feed off of energy. And the person that I'm with, my partner right now, he's like, don't worry about money. And that's been my anxiety my entire life, is worrying about money. That is the number one stressor in my life. That's the one thing. It's something that I've just been struggling with. And since being with him, I'm able to get over it. I don't think that way anymore. So like I said, I've known all the time when I was unhealthy, like, yeah, I should be eating this way. I should be doing this. I should be doing this. But I didn't have that.
You weren't able to.
Yeah.
You didn't have the resources.
Yep.
Yeah. But I love that the moment that you had the resources, you knew where you wanted them to go. You knew what you needed to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, right now, obviously I don't have a gym membership anymore because they're not open.
Yeah.
I'm not exercising as much as I'd like to, because I am somebody that does struggle with working out from home.
Yeah.
Because for me, my mentality is home is comfort.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm more motivated if I'm able to train somebody and work out with them at the same time, or if I have a friend that I'm able to work out with at the same time.
I'm that way too. McKenna and I spent a large part of our quarantine together, and we really fed off each other and helped each other with exercising and getting outside and running and doing all of these things. And she's been gone for a week, and I've just been like,
It really helps to have support.
It's still been hard. Like, I've gone through a rut within the last maybe like 2 weeks where I just haven't been doing much other than training my clients.
home is like your comfort spot anyway. And so then you're at home and you're trying to motivate other people that are struggling too. That's hard.
There's no secret. But some days I'm like, I don't really want to I don't want to do this. I'm like, you know what? I'll just put on my workout clothes. I put on my clothes and it's like, well, I have these on. I got to do something. All right, you know what? I'll just do a half-hour workout on YouTube. And so I put on the TV and I'm like, all right, I'll do half hour. And after half hour, I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm good. I can do 15 minutes of yoga. I do 15 minutes of yoga. I've done a 45-minute workout. I can go take a shower and I'm good for the day.
Do you feel like because of that home situation and the, not really wanting to work out in your comfort space, do you think that's impacted the food too?
I definitely eat a lot more sweets than normal
It's
because,
comforting.
we're not doing stand-up anymore. So
Yeah.
we're used to being gone every night. So, we'll eat dinner and then it's like we do our sets, whatever. We come home and it's like we go to bed. We're not having a banana split. We're not having, cookies and, we just had dinner. We're watching TV for a couple hours. You know what? I have a hankering for, a piece of cake or something. You know what?
Yeah. Because you're go.
Yeah.
I imagine you burn a lot of energy too when you're on stage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How do you recommend to the people that you train that they fuel their bodies?
Once I recognized that pattern within myself, we're kind of like, I looked at my boyfriend and I was like, we're eating sweets every night. I'm like, all right, I need to figure something out. So I got like an ice cream that is vegan and keto. So there's no sugar. It's sweetened with monk fruit. It's really good. So and it's made from it has cacao, so it's super healthy. It's got like maybe 6 ingredients in it.
And those types of ice cream can be expensive, but I feel like if you spend a bit more on it, it's also less amount. So instead of getting a humongous tub of regular ice cream, you only have a little tiny bit because it's more
quality over quantity. Yeah.
There's multiple reasons that I tell people, like, don't worry about spending money on healthy organic foods because, one, medical bills are more expensive. Going to the doctor is more expensive. Just to go to urgent, like you feel sick or something, you go to urgent care, it's $100 just to get a checkup.
Therapy.
Yeah.
Exactly. All that shit, it just adds up. So it's like, so why not fuel your body? Just spend a little bit more, and it's kind of like an insurance on your body,
Yeah. Yeah.
Where if I spend $2 on a big tub of ice cream, which I I don't eat dairy, but if I did, if I did, and I got a $2 tub of ice cream, well, that's just $2. I'll eat this up and
Yep.
just get another one. Whereas if
Yep.
I'm spending $6 on a pint
Yeah.
of this healthy ice cream, I'm eating less of it because I'm like, well, I want this to last.
Yeah, I like what you said about it being an insurance policy. And if it's working to help to fuel your brain and help with your anxiety, I mean, that's priceless to me.
My anxiety and depression get worse if I eat like crap. And I've noticed that, like, mentally, I will feel a shift when I switch things up in my diet.
Yeah, we've definitely heard from a few people saying very similar, from the science side and from just the emotional side. It's definitely a thing.
And kind of on that note, do you have a routine that you've been doing during this time at home, or do you have any advice for people who are struggling to stay motivated?
Well, for me, I definitely have to keep researching.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do the research. So, it could be as simple as watching a documentary. It could be, just literally just sit on your couch and put on a health documentary or something like that. So one thing that really I think is super motivating that people can watch right now is Down to Earth with Zac Efron and Darren Olian.
Okay.
If you haven't seen it, it's excellent. And it's really motivating as far as like taking care of yourself and like the planet. And so for me, watching that recently changed up some of my habits with eating because I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that I should be doing this. Oh yeah, I should be drinking this. I go on Google and I look up Harvard studies or, studies on Johns Hopkins or Mayo Clinic on just diet and exercise, things like that, and how they correlate. And so like for me, like I don't go just on the documentaries either. I have to see, I'm somebody that needs to see the empirical evidence.
Yes. Yeah. We are too.
Because like a lot of people will share like a BuzzFeed thing that says, oh, a glass of wine a day is healthy. And I'm like, no, it's not. They're like, well, that. And I'm like, no, if you look at the studies done, this is science. I trust science.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're like that too.
Well, I love what you're saying about researching because even though we know these things, it's good to have a reminder.
Yeah, and when we're not around the people that we're used to being around every day who inspire us or get our energy levels up, it's good to remind yourself what the bigger picture is and why we want to do it and what the benefits are. So I think that's really great.
So for those of us with friends or family that are going through big life events, how might we encourage them to take care of their minds and their bodies so that they can weather the storm? What I find so fascinating about human nature is that even though we prepare ourselves for these moments, we eat healthy, we're exercising, we have that insurance policy in place, but then when things start happening, we deplete ourselves, right? And so you talk about this great place that you're in. Like, how did you get there?
It's a combination of a lot of things. Like I said, when I started, I got into meditating and I got into writing down positives, and I was doing this every day. And then, like I said, doing research constantly, like forcing myself to be like, remind myself, okay, look, this is what, Harvard said, this is what Mayo Clinic says, remind myself, this is why you do what you do. This is why you eat this way. Like I've been a strict vegan for 4.5 years. And of course, every once in a while, like, I think like, why am I doing this again? And it's not that I want to eat meat, but I want to eat cheese. I don't want those things anymore. I don't crave them. But every once in a while, it's good to just kind of like go on these like sites and be like, okay, this is why I do this.
Because it's a lot of work.
Just reminders of like watching things, researching, talking to people about it too. Like really being communicative with my partner about this is really important for me.
Yes, that's super important.
Making sure like I'll let him know like, hey, I think I'm eating too much of this, so I'm going to slow down. And he'll be like, me too, and so we'll be on the same page.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. It's so good to have support.
Yeah, I think that's a great point about how we support our friends and our family, just get on board with what they need and like help them fact check. I know that when I was with Mom, I think there were several times where one of us was like, this food isn't making me feel great. And so the other person was like, great, we're done. We're done with that food,
Yeah.
So I think that's a really great point.
We were kind of wondering, what are you reading or listening to right now that inspires you or lifts your spirits? And if you have any favorite comedians who inspire you as well.
My favorite comedian, one of my favorites that has inspired me the most is Ali Wong.
Oh, I love
Right.
Ali
Yes.
Wong.
And so she's somebody I adore, and I've seen her live a couple of times where I was at like a show and she just popped in.
That's awesome.
There's a comedian named Mark Normand that he just put out a free comedy special on YouTube, and he was just like, I'm just gonna put it out. I'm not gonna wait for somebody to pick it up. Like, I feel like people need this right now, and he put it out on YouTube.
Yeah.
Fantastic book. Highly recommend. It's The Artist's Way, connecting art, like whether an artist, whether you're a writer, you're a podcaster, you're a comedian, you're an actor, you paint, whatever it is, connecting it with the spirituality element and kind of breaking you out of when you have writing blocks, how it's actually a block in your energy. It's like taking a course, but there's nobody teaching you, but you're just reading the book and you're doing the exercises. And that helped me tremendously.
Yeah. This has been so great.
It was amazing meeting you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Danielle.
Have the best day.
Bye, you too.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode of Health It's Personal. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts for bonus episodes and new releases every Wednesday. The Health It's Personal podcast is produced by me, McKenna Udi, and hosted with the Phronesis Health Initiative team, Karen Jively and Sean Tingle. Special thanks to portrait artist Alexander, musical contributor Bernie Ramke, and to our guests and experts for their kindness and bravery in sharing their stories each week.
Please listen, subscribe, engage, and send us topics we can explore that would help you on your journey.
Because health, it's personal.